Right. What would be good use of our time today?
Not quite sure. Is there anything we had left unsaid maybe last time?
Mommy.
I mean, I can think of moments in the future coming up that might cause anxiety for me.
Okay.
Things at work are pretty calm right now. Things over in the woods are wonderful. We had an incident earlier today, but it wasn't anything bad. And one of the residents in rehab knew he was leaving today. And so Sean Carl and I came in through the rehab door, and then he thought we were taking him. We didn't know he was supposed to leave, and so the boys walked through from skilled rehab into long-term care to go to that back hallway. And he followed them through and almost got in like the back corridor, the staff corridor. But then Trish caught him instead of Brittany, and they were like, whoa, whoa. Your wife's coming to get you at 2. Like, just go eat lunch. And I had no clue, and he also has memory issues, so I was like, I don't know, I'm not sure what your schedule is, and he was getting really irritated with me, which wasn't, like, his normal thing, so I apologized to them later. I was like, sorry, but I mean to make that more confusing, and they're like, no, it was fine, it's okay. So, I met George's son today, John,
yeah.
And didn't know that he was a minister. I had no clue.
Well, he's not. George is a minister.
Right, George. That's what I meant. Not John. John does some IT stuff or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had no clue that George was a Lutheran minister. I said I must have asked the right questions, but I don't think I really sat and talked with George. It was a good day over there. And before I left too, I was sitting with Maddie, and you know how they have those. Have you seen the cat and the dog that's over there now?
I've seen the cat.
So they have a dog too.
Okay.
And I was like, Maddie, do you want to pet the puppy that they have? And she was like, I don't know. And I was like, well, I'll just bring him over. So we turned the puppy on, and she was like petting him and just like talking to him and like bopping his nose and like it was so cute. And then Thelma came over, and so Thelma was like, oh, that dog's making an awful lot of noise. And I said, yeah, I've got a 10 o'clock appointment. Do you mind holding the dog for me? And Thelma was like, I guess I can do that. And so then she was holding the dog, and both of them were sitting at the French doors like watching the snowfall this morning. So it was nice. It was just like a good moment. But let's see what's gonna cause anxiety. Oh well, here's something that didn't. My sister Caroline has had a horrible kind of year. We'll just say that. And she's the ball. She is the thing that creates anxiety in my family. I don't know. Or whatever. She creates anxiety in my family. And so my sister Emily was sharing with me something. She was like, have you seen this? And she sent me a link that was no longer there anymore because Caroline had deleted it. It was like to some Twitter rant. And Emily was like, I just can't believe she would do this and blah, blah, blah. And just was going on and on. She was back and, well, she was just kind of texting me. And I said, you know, Emily, I'm kind of at the point where I'm just going to let Caroline make her decisions and just let her know that we're going to be here no matter what. And, you know, I really think that we just need to give her the space to make her own decisions and not tell her our opinions. And I was like, part of that's because our opinions don't really seem to matter. It's not like in our sharing of opinions that Caroline is like, oh, you're right. It's as if she doesn't, as if we're Jiminy Cricket or something. So I was like, I just think, you know,
your wisdom is just not appreciated.
Yeah, it's not. And so I said, instead of, you know, just letting it give me heartburn, I'm just going to let her know that I'm here. And if she wants to talk to me about it, I'll talk to her about it. But if she chooses to, this weekend she, threw empty beer bottles at her ex-boyfriend at a frat party and stuff like that. I was like, if she wants to talk to me about that, she knows my number, but I'm not going to call her or say, Caroline, you can't do stuff like that. I have my opinions on it, but I'm not going to share them just because I could just get sucked into that so quickly. And so Emily I kind of just like, and I was like, I'm not saying I don't care about her, but I, for my own self, just don't want to do that anymore. And Emily was like, okay. I don't know who Emily turned to then, or if she kept going, but.
Would you consider that Caroline was focused on more by your parents than you and Emily?
For sure, but in like this weird way. So she had the attention, but not because they focus on us because we did positive things. They focus on Caroline because she did negative things.
Okay.
So like the attention was different. Like they treat her very differently than they treat us. But eventually it got to the point where they just kind of felt like there was no hope for Caroline, and yeah, she just kind of, it's really weird to, you know, if you look at like a genogram, you would say that there's like a lot of just straight lines to her from both my parents, but then also a lot of the ziggy-zaggy ones too, because it's like there's a lot of attention focused on her, but there's a lot of conflict that is just kind of under the surface. As she's gotten older, yeah, there's a lot of conflict, and it can flare up kind of whenever, which makes being around everyone exciting.
What would you observe about your parents' behavior when Caroline was being focused on? What kind of things would they do?
My dad would. No, my dad did this with all of us. So
He was consistent.
He was pretty consistent in the sense that, like, my dad worked 2 jobs, like, my whole life. So when my dad would come home from work, it would be like 10 o'clock at night, and he had been gone since like 5 in the morning.
And both of your parents were teachers?
My mom they are now, but my mom, when Caroline was born, when they found out they were pregnant with Caroline, my mom stopped working.
Right.
So my dad worked as a school teacher during the day in Northern Virginia, and then in the afternoons he would sell cars. So he would come back from the car lot at like 9:30, and he would help us with homework and stuff, and help me do math and science, because that's what he taught. And so he would do that with Caroline, and that was pretty consistent. But my mom and her would just get into these screaming matches with each other, which is different from the way that my mom and I fought. My mom would just scream at me, and I would, like, submit or just be really submissive, and Caroline was just 100% back in her. Caroline, actually, that's not true. Caroline would just kind of take it for a little while, but then just had, like, a fuse and would just, you know, pop off and just start screaming at her and stuff. So, and she fought the same way with Caroline. It's just it didn't work on Caroline. Caroline just didn't care. So when Mom would start saying stuff like, "I'm just a horrible mom, you just hate me," Caroline would just dig in and be like, "That's right, you're awful, I do hate you," you know, and stuff like that. Like, knowing what she was doing, because she in her heart did not feel that way, but just kind of would be like, "You're being ridiculous, Mom," and so would just feed into whatever my mom, I don't know if it's true insecurity that my mom really thinks that we, like, don't like her, and because she would say stuff like that all the time, like, "I'm the worst mom, you hate me so much, like, I never do anything right," and part of me thinks that is a lot of her insecurity, but then, I mean, the way Emily and I would handle it would be, well, Emily was, like, the middle ground, so sometimes Emily would, like, yell and scream at my mom just like Caroline would. And then sometimes Emily was a lot like me and would just be like, "No, Mom, you're not. We don't hate you. We love you so much. You're the greatest mom. You're all the good things you do for us." So Emily would switch back and forth. But Emily spent a lot more time in the house with Caroline and Mom screaming at each other than I ever did. Yeah, and they just always kind of made exceptions for her. She has ADD, and it really affected her schoolwork and stuff like that. And I remember when she was like 7, she's a lot younger than me, so like I was like in high school when she was like 7, and she would still be up at like 10 o'clock at night, which would have never been a thing for me, but you know, they would say, well, it's because she can't get to sleep, it's because of her ADD, like it's because of the medicine she takes. And I mean, I don't know how much of that's true, I'm not her parent, but yeah, she was just different. She's always been different. I'm sure if she was to like sit in our class, she'd be like, "I'm the black sheep of the family, I'm the one that doesn't fit in." And if you like were to write write the accomplishments down of each girl, it would be very obvious that she of course she would feel that way, even though we don't think that. We love her and accept her, but I think she would name herself as the outsider.
So, as particularly your mother focused on her,
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like she would underfunction. Both conflict and
Mm-hmm.
underfunctioning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they would just bicker over anything, really. You didn't clean your room. I asked you to do this, you didn't do that. Why did you tell me you didn't have homework when you had homework? Why are you getting zeros on your homework? We sent your homework in. And so my parents would, like, go to bat for her all the time. Like, there were tons of parent-teacher conferences. There was a lot of, like, mom and dad writing papers for her and stuff. Or just, like, Caroline would get to a point where a paper would be due tomorrow, and all she had was, like, the beginning sentence. And my mom would be like, fine, and would sit down and be like, we're writing this paper together. You dictate, and I'll type. And then would, like, fix it and stuff. I mean, it's not like she got A's or anything. My parents still attempted to make it look like her work, so she was getting, like, C's and stuff. But yeah, made sure she had accommodations and stuff, and I think it was really hard for them. I mean, my parents, because I was older and so much older than her, my dad especially confided in me, and still continues to kind of confide in me. My mom doesn't do that as much, but my dad does a lot. I really think my dad sees me as, like, a place an outlet for him, which is weird, but get some friends, but he, they just struggled with, like, how, and he even said this, like, my sister got arrested for shoplifting her freshman year of college, so my parents got her out of, she spent one night in jail. They weren't going to tell any of the sisters. My family really likes secrets, so they weren't going to tell us, but Caroline told us, and she was afraid that we were going to, like, hate her. I thought she was stupid, but I didn't hate her. And my parents were like, okay, well, you're going to have to pay back your lawyer fees to us. And so Daniel and I, that summer, hired her to watch Nora, because it was when we were moving up here. And we knew we needed to get, like, established before we found a place for Nora to stay. Paid her and everything. Enough money for her to pay back my parents full. Never paid them back. I asked Mom and Dad about it, and they were like, Like, it's just so different. I would have, it just, and that always, I feel like
They
it
would have
happens in
held
every.
your feet to the fire.
Oh, yeah. And they wouldn't have even had to.
Yeah.
I would have already, it wouldn't have been, and I guess just for them, it's just, like, not, I feel like now they're tired. It's just not worth it to fight those battles anymore. Like, they're just like, ugh.
So, growing up, how did you experience your role in the parent-Caroline dynamic?
Growing up?
Yeah.
Well, Caroline was, I was 8 when Caroline was born. I got in trouble actually a lot for mothering her.
From your parents?
Yeah, from my mom specifically. She would tell me things like, Heather, I'm the mom, you're the sister, you don't get to make the rules. Or I would tell, because I'd be like, Caroline, you can't do that. So, in fact, now Daniel makes fun of me because they would say Caroline was my baby, and sometimes I'll call Nora Caroline. I'll be like, Caroline, and then I'm like, I mean Nora, and their names are nothing at all similar. I'm like, wow, I must have been so annoying to my mom. But yeah, I don't remember fighting with Caroline ever. And I think I coddled her a lot. I remember one time specifically, I went over and we were having a sleepover with my aunt and uncle. And Caroline was probably like 3. Maybe Nora. Yeah, 3, because they had her in a bed with no crib rails. And she was just crying because it was her bedtime and she didn't want to go to sleep. And she was crying and she was crying. And my aunt and uncle kept saying, no, just, like, leave her be, let her be, like, she just needs to go to sleep. And I was like, she can't sleep without me. And so then I remember I went and I laid in the bed with her, and my aunt and uncle, like, I used to love to have sleepovers with them because they would like let me sleep in their bed and we would watch movies I wasn't really allowed to watch and have cookies and stuff. And they're like, no, Heather, we want you to come spend time with us. And I was like, no, I have to take care of Caroline. And yeah, and then I still get crap for that night today, like to this day. They're like, oh, remember that one time you came over to our house to spend the night and you went and made sure your baby sister fell asleep? And she would have been fine. And she would, like, now that I'm a mom and I know, like, understand kids more, she would have been fine. She could have, she was just out of place and she would have fallen asleep. But as her sister, I was like, I can't leave her up there by herself.
So you identified early on some sort of overfunctioning in your own way with
to her.
Yeah.
And I think she's had that with all of us. I think the only person except is Emily that just didn't overfunction for her when she was little. Now that Emily's older and Caroline's like off the rails or whatever, she's not really, but for lack of a better term, off the rails, Emily's like, shouldn't we be doing something? Or are we not going to do anything? We're just going to let this happen? Okay. And I really am latching on to the idea that, like Bowen says, that when we just let people function, and just, I don't tell Caroline what to do, I don't come in and try to save the day, that she'll rise to the occasion. And so I'm hoping that if I can relieve her of at least one person in her life that can do that, like maybe that will help her in some small way. I can't vouch for my parents, and I don't know what I would do if Caroline was like my kid. I'll probably feel the same way. It's like really hard not to, like Dad says, how long do you let them fall until you like, put that safety net out there, like, because he's like, she's gonna be living with us for the rest of her life.
Well, I mean, how do you feel about changing your role in the family?
Well, with her, I think my mom will see it as a relief in a way. I mean, I don't think I've functioned as Caroline's mother per se in that like intense way that I did as a kid for a long time, just because she was 10 when I went away to college, so it's been like she's grown up a lot since I've been out of the house. But I don't know, I think it'll be hard because I think people will want to pull me back in. I'm sure my dad will want to pull me aside and have talks when I get home about her. I'm sure I'll get those texts from my mom, like, oh, you need to call your sister, or you need to do this, or you need to do that, or be my spy. But I just don't think that's beneficial for Caroline. I mean, she puts a lot of, like, the crazy stuff she does on social media. And so I kind of feel like that's a cry for help or something in a way, but then also I know she has my number, and if she really needs me and really wants to hear from me and is really looking for that advice, she can always call me. And I think that's probably just what I'll continue to communicate. I don't want to, like, I don't want to be like, oh, I don't want to buy into it at all, and then have her feel like, is Heather not there? Is she mad at me?
Right,
or, distance. That's not what I'm trying to do, but just, I just don't want to engage with her about that stuff anymore, because she'll figure it out. She will. I think she's going to take a lot longer than other people, but